Hey everybody, Michael Wilson Everard here. Was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today, and as usual, I go into these videos, usually just off the cuff, and speak from the heart, and just talk about whatever comes to mind. So today, I want to talk about faith. Um, what does it mean? How does it work? And let's just get to it. So. Um, Faith has, I suppose, different meanings to different people. When we talk about, we ask the question to somebody, what is your faith? We're asking them, what sort of religion do they practice, or philosophy of life and of God. Um, when we look at the word, and let's listen to the sound of it first. Faith. Um, what is faith? Faith is very simply a it's a belief in something that you don't know to be absolutely true, but you feel that it's the truth. So if we if we think about how we perceive God, what do we do? Well, what we do is we try to understand how God works. But to try to understand that concept, it's going to be beyond what we're capable of as human beings. So uh, we latch on to different belief systems, various religions or philosophies. Um, my own personal journey started with Christianity in the Presbyterian Church, and I I enjoyed most of it. I had a very strong belief in Jesus Christ, who I later came to find out actually went by the name Yeshua. Uh, he spoke Aramaic, and absolutely was the Son of God. There's no denying that. A lot of people refute that and just say he was just a human. Well, he was just a human, but he was born of the Virgin Mary. The whole thing with Immaculate Conception is true. Um, Jesus was was the Son of God, but lived as a man. Okay, um, the John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever shall believe within him shall have everlasting life. To me, that is as simple as can be. The message is perfectly clear. The debates that I would get into with church elders was this concept of hell, and this idea that if you don't believe or worship in a certain way, you're going to hell. Well, God loves us perfectly and with unconditional love. So the concept of hell um, is quite foreign to me. Um, I asked if, um, I said, what about Catholics? Well, they're going to hell because they worship the Virgin Mary. What about Mormons? Mormons are going to hell because XYZ. Okay. So, and then I asked, well, what about indigenous people um, in the jungles of the Amazon, for example? Oh, well, they're going to be saved because missionaries are going to see them. So, um, there you go. My paradox. Needless to say, I did not become a member of the church, but I didn't have any hatred. I just got stuck on that paradox. Went on through my life and had some traumatic situations come about. Went down a rabbit hole with drugs and alcohol, marijuana, and LSD, and um, went to jail, got out, got clean, super depressed, uh, and wanted to die. Didn't want to live anymore. I had a feeling that I would never experience joy or anything like that. And it wasn't even a negative feeling. It was an antithesis of feeling. It was no feeling. Uh, but I got through it. And uh, I studied metaphysical New Age stuff, um, and I latched onto Buddhism. Buddhism, for me, was quite refreshing because the concept of uh, uh, attachment and desire, and desire is a form of suffering. So, in order to not suffer, we detach from these desires. So, uh, what I did was I I learned how to detach from certain desires, um, starting with drugs and alcohol. I did, and I am part of Narcotics Anonymous, uh, and I work the 12 steps. Um, so I I learned a different way. Um, where I got stuck with Buddhism was very simply when I realized that um, the wish to be free of desires is a desire. So there was a paradox there. So a paradox is basically it's not really a lie. It's think of it as um, a blockage of the truth. Uh, I later learned how to um, detach from everything. So that doesn't mean that I don't care about anything, but I don't fear anything. I don't fear death. I don't fear the loss of my soul, because the soul is a fraction of God. Um, it's a God spark. It's a piece of God. Um, our consciousness, and I spoke a little bit about this the other day, yesterday. Consciousness is our identity, and we very often go through life, and um, we may have some mental uh, torments, um, where we have psychotic breakdowns and we lose our minds, and then as a society we're taught that losing your mind is bad. You don't want to lose your mind. Well, you don't want to lose your mind, but we do want to learn how to detach from our ego. Our ego is that thing that it's a self-preservation mechanism that helps us to uh, know the difference. Well, conscience helps us know the difference between right and wrong. Ego is is more about me. It's everything's about me. You know, how do I become more successful? How do I attract uh, my mate? These kinds of things. So when we detach from the ego, we are accepting um, more levels of truth, and we're learning how to um, be closer to our true self. Our true self is twofold. Um, it's actually our true nature is that, first of all, we are um, of God, okay? But our identity is our consciousness, okay? Okay? See the V? We talked about 0 points before. How do we find ourselves? Well, we start at our 0 point. Our 0 point is, and we can do it anywhere. It's where we are perfectly present. Um, the best way to do it is just wherever you are right now. Um, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? Breathe in, breathe out. What do you taste? What do you feel? So, actually, the sight, um, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Okay? Do those 5 things. Pay attention, listen, feel. So take all of those 5 things, and then how do you feel now? That's how you become present at your 0 point. Okay? A lot of people do the meditation. Focus on your breathing. Okay? That process is also a good way to become present, but it's also a really great way to mind sweep, get rid of negative thoughts, because what'll happen is the negative thought forms creep in there. You just let them fly on through. The other thing that people can do with the mantra, it's the Om. Om. Okay, that is a sacred sound. That is the feminine energy Om sound. The the uh, the God sound is the Ah. So you have the word of God, Ah, and God's 0 point is the zenith. At the zenith, the feminine energy from the void merges with the Ah. And then what comes next is the Om. That's the Omega. So, God times the Omega creates the frequency of the Om. That's how it all begins. So, when you detach from everything, including your soul, especially your soul, because it's not yours to begin with, so you can't lose it, you can't sell it, then what happens is you are no longer stuck. You can then transverse to your Christ consciousness. So a lot of people were debating me, saying, oh, only through Jesus Christ can you be saved. Well, there's nothing to save because there's nothing to be lost. God doesn't forgive you. You have to forgive yourself. The whole idea of clarity of vision is to transverse along the path and to become your birthright. Your birthright is to experience life through your Christ consciousness. So remember, you still have your soul. Your soul is God's will. Your free will is your consciousness. So you never actually lose either of them. So when people fear death, they fear one of three things. They fear physical pain. For the longest time, um, my fear was to be burned alive. My wife, her fear is to die drowning. She had an incident when she was 7 where she almost drowned. My first awakening was getting poked in my left eye um, when I was 3 years old with a toy gun. My twin brother jabbed me in the eye, and that was my first memory. Uh, what's funny is I didn't feel any pain. Um, I know that sounds weird. I certainly don't remember feeling pain. I remember my dad carrying me to the room, and I saw my first color, which was purple. And he was wearing a purple shirt. And I remember driving to the hospital and looking out the window. And then I remember smelling the anesthesia. I remember all of it. I never lost my faith. So, uh, accept your birthright. Let me read so I don't get it mixed up. All right, down to business. All right, people. Time to learn the truth. Um, there's fractal elements of truth in everything. There's fractal elements of truth in the Bible, and I'm going to show you the way. The Buddha taught us how to become detached. Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching, Taoism was my last philosophy that I latched onto. Um, and I didn't become attached to it, but I definitely learned from it. And that the Tao is basically the way. But let's start with John 14:12, King James Version. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but it's pretty evident to me what that means. Um, the other the other verse that I'm going to read to you, I already did John 3:16. These are my uh, three favorites. All right, Matthew 7:7. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh. Okay, so that was Matthew 7:7 and Matthew 7:8. Okay. Um, I'm just going to read one last thing. This is the Tao Te Ching, Chapter 7. Um, this is the way. Yes, your Christ consciousness is the way. That is the final gateway, the path. But there are 7 billion different ways, people, to do this. Free will is a gift. Um, it's up to you to choose whether or not you're going to use it as a blessing or a curse. If you choose to take the detour and be take the bumpy path, that's fine. You're not doing anything wrong, and there's no mistake in that. There's a lot of people will take that path. Sometimes that path is necessary for people to better see the light. You can't see the light until you truly know the darkness. All right, here we go. Tao Te Ching, Chapter 7. Heaven is eternal and earth is lasting. How can they be eternal and lasting? Because they do not live for themselves. That is how they can be eternal. Therefore, the sage puts himself last and becomes the first, neglects himself and is preserved. Is it not because he is unselfish that he fulfills himself? Okay, people, I gave you all the answers you need. It's up to you. It's time to become who you were meant to be. The 5-dimensional shift is here. Those who tune in will experience paradise on earth. Um, I I know what I know. Um, you can believe me or not. It's totally fine either way. I love you regardless. Uh, let's do it. I love you. Namaste.